Okay, so there's a few different ways that I can give you straight off the bat on how to legally reduce your tax. I'll give you a couple of examples of people where I've been able to help and they've saved massive amounts of tax. The first one was a guy came to me, had a small building company, and he was operating through a company, had an existing accountant. The existing accountant, he was okay, he knew what he was doing, but he really didn't know how to proactively get involved with this guy and help him save tax. What we did was we got in and restructured his business. It meant setting up a couple of different structures, a couple of new companies and a trust, and it's not only has it saved that guy a lot of tax by being able to redistribute income around the place, but it's allowed him to then create a foundation that he's built a massive business out of. Like, his business is now turning over 8-figure amounts and he's saving a lot there. So that's one way. Second one is, had a guy come to me, had a much smaller business. He's turning over about 250, 300,000, and he was netting about 150,000. He was earning it all in his own name. He was employing a couple of contractors. What we were able to do for him was to set up a trust, and the business was transferred into the trust. The trust then started earning all the income. His wife wasn't working, she was having a baby, so we were able to split that income in half to him, half to her, and it ended up meaning a saving of 10 to 20,000 in tax per year. And it's also allowed us to get in there and help him build the business up a lot more as well. Another example is, had a guy who was in a really bad way. He was getting audited by the tax office. They were threatening to kick him and his family out onto the street. And what we did is we went in there and actually just took control of the situation. We got him to sign on as his tax agents. We then started dealing with the tax office on his behalf. So he wasn't having to get into that very stressful situation of trying to sort things out and deal with the tax office. I started dealing with the tax office for him. It meant that they could no longer push him around because, the experience I've got is probably more than anybody on the other end of the phone in the tax office. Got more experience in tax than most of those people, done tens of thousands of tax returns. I was able to get in there and tell them to back off, which they did. They gave us extra time. We were then able to quarantine off some of the debt, which meant that he ended up saving about $300,000 worth of tax. He didn't have to pay it back. And we were able to restructure his house and then pay out the housing finance and pay out the remainder of the debt. It's meant that now he's totally on top of his tax situation, and we're in the process of looking at how he can now start buying some investment property for himself. And that's really the name of the game. We like to help people get their taxes sorted and then get into building wealth. And, real estate for us is probably the best vehicle. We've been able to help people do things like, they've had $30,000 cash. We've been able to help them buy their first investment property with just $30,000 cash through using our network and the expertise we have in that area. We've also been able to help other people. Like, we helped one person. She sold a house in Sydney. She netted about $1 million. By the end of this year, she'll have about 100 properties that she will own and control. So, we're able to do a lot of different things legally to help people reduce their tax and then get into that process of helping them build wealth.